Hey everybody, my name is Austin Leggett. I'm the creative director here at Compassion Church Metro. We're so excited to invite you into this podcast world that we're doing between the pastoral pod that we shot last week, the creative pod this week, and then the young adult targeted audience podcast from Kenny Love coming out next week. We're really taking an aim towards discipleship this year, and so we're so happy to have you join us. As I said, I'm Austin Leggett. I'm the creative director here at Compassion Church. We want to specifically welcome you to this creative podcast. We're so excited, me and my team, just to share with you our heart and our vision and kind of what we've been working on for a little bit, what we are going to work on, our vision and our mission statements. I want to introduce you to my best friend, Tal Ely. He is over our live streams. He's over our podcast publishing. He's over our YouTube and making sure everything is right there. So pretty much anything other than like social reels, but anything you see other than online is usually Tal. He's doing a lot of these things for us that you're seeing externally, and he's doing a great job, and he just recently took it over. And so Tal, I just want to ask you, we're going to go kind of through both of our backgrounds. I've been in the creative world now for a few years. Tal really hasn't, but he's recently joined the team and has seen how me and some of the other creators have worked. So yeah, Tal, just give some insight to what you've seen recently in the last few months as being the media systems coordinator and over at Livestream. How have you kind of seen the creative world differently? Some of these people who call ourselves creatives and are good with cameras and good with graphics and computers and making things for not only externally but also on the website. How's that experience been?
It's been great. It's definitely something I'm not used to. Like Austin said, I really haven't had a creative background. I don't do creative for work or anything like that, but it's definitely been a learning curve, but I've enjoyed it, being able to see, you and your team in a different light and really learn a lot of the aspects that a lot of people don't even realize is happening on a Sunday morning and throughout the week. And so I think it's been great so far and happy to keep growing and for the team to keep growing and what you guys are producing.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because even though you've not been on the team creatively for so long, really the aspects of what the team has done here recently and in the way that which we're meeting and going out for shoots and doing different designs, like you've been a part of some of that heavy stuff and stuff that we've taken on here recently with the new building and our focus on discipleship and different things like the Metro project, which the team has coined and really let the church adopt and become this new vision and mission. Yeah. All of those things Tal's been a vital part of and helping us get the word out, helping us prepare, helping us meet. I want to give you a little insight to my creative journey now that you've known Tal's just here recently. Because this is the first podcast, I want you to know who I am, where I come from, how I came to this position, how Tal and his family and his father were an instrumental part of that position, and what's led me here. I was originally going to do this quick and kind of just briefly go over it, but I want to kind of take a deeper dive because I want you to know how I ended up here and how, not that it's because I'm skilled, not because I'm a good leader, not because I'm good with the camera. I don't think any of those things matter. I think it's because God has ordained steps in my life that have led me to be in this exact seat at this exact moment.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I was on the way to Red River, New Mexico with my wife's family. I was in the back and I was super, super bored. And I had a computer and I thought, I'm going to download Photoshop and just see what I can do with graphic design. And I got decent at it. I spent time, and that was actually 2020, so COVID kicked in. I had time off of work. I was blessed to have a job then that paid me, and I didn't even have to work, so I just had time at home to play video games, but also to kind of grow in this graphic design new passion I had. And that led to someone, Drew Ham, reaching out to me and asking if I would make graphics, because he saw my graphics online, if I would make graphics for his Ignite Youth conference that was coming up. So I did. He saw that and he liked it. He took it on, used them at the conference. They used them for social media. And I think Pastor Steve saw that I made that. And then not very long after, I was sitting in my car one day and I was crying. I was like, God, I feel stuck. I have this new creative passion, but it's not really, I'm not super talented in it yet, but I feel like I'm supposed to go somewhere with this. And it's just a burning in my heart I have. And I know there's a new door, but I don't know when that door is going to open. And I kind of just feel stuck. I prayed that prayer crying in my car. And the next day, Stevie, they called me and said, I have something for you. I'd like for you and Natalie to come over and meet. Me and Natalie, we're not married yet, but we were about to. I'd like for you guys to come over and meet and talk about this thing that I want to propose. And the thing he proposed was being the creative director and also being the young adults pastor. Two of those things I still do here at this church. We have a different name, and we're at a different location and under different leadership, but it's still the same church. We still have the same people for the most part, and we're growing, and we've seen God do miraculous things. And then in that church, at the church while I was there, I was still working at a retail place, and then God blessed me with a job that kind of allowed me to transition into a different avenue of my life. And then I got a job with Compassion Network with Adam Touchstone and Matthew Peck doing creative. And my skills just became super refined through that and through the church. I started taking pictures, and I was taking pictures a little bit before the network at the church to help with social media. But there was where I kind of refined those skills. And I knew I wanted to eventually get into video, and Matthew helped me a ton with that. And that's kind of where my skills just got taken to a next level. I was nowhere near where I wanted to be, but I knew that I had the foundation for it. And then God called me to a new area, and I work at the IPHC, and I work at the church still, and we got a lot more going on in the church, so now it demands much more of my time.
Yeah.
But it's just every single step, every single door that I didn't know if I was supposed to take until God called me to it, and I didn't ever think I would be there. God has proven that in those seasons, he's trying to train me in a different way. For the church, I got better at graphics and photography. At the network, I got a better foundation for video. Now where I work now at the IPHC, my video skills have increased abundantly to where they were before. And so I think God has just ordained step after step for me to be where I am today. And that's not in a braggadocious way. I'm not even close to being at the top of creatives. I just am where God wants me to be, and I think that's why it works. I want to go into a scripture that is kind of the foundation for my life, what I believe God has called creatives to be, what he's called us to be and our team to be, and why I think we're important. It's Exodus 31. God is talking to Moses, and he said, I have filled them with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of crafts. So this is when they're building the tabernacle, and God is talking to Moses, saying, I have given you a set of people whose entire job is to build the design, for lack of a better word, of the tabernacle. He's called people with creative skill, and I even believe that people who weren't creative already, he gives them this skill of creativity and installs in them the ability to design the tabernacle the way that he wants it to be designed.
That's good.
And I think it's still the same way today. He's using me and our team and every creative in the world to, maybe it's not building the church. There are some whose skill is creative or interior design, and they help with the church. But I also think it's just to build the kingdom and build the church with things like film and video and photos and just even marketing on social media and keeping up with trends and knowing how to make a good reel. All of those things, those skills he's installed in us. Yeah. He's allowed us to have this footprint in the creative world to draw people closer to him. I think I find myself often disappointed with the secular world because there's so much creativity and there's so much artistic expression, and it's so, honestly, it's unbelievable the things that the secular world is able to create, and entertainment is such an important factor. And we know through things that even in college that we were into and are still into now, and that God can just use creativity, but if you're not a godly person, there are still creative skills inside of you, but I think you're always missing something. Yeah. And it saddens me to see, because I think you often see like the sad creatives where they're usually frustrated and they're usually sad or mad, and creativity is the way they get it out. Where I love in our world, it's the opposite. I'm so joyous and know Christ that I want to use every bit of creativity that I have to speak it out and for someone else to see it and know God. And And I think one of the biggest things to understand is to learn that creativity is directly from God and is directly for God.
Yeah.
And it's how he wants to build his church. I don't know if you have some insight in that or if you want to share, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling as the director. Is like, I'm so grateful for the team that we have who understands that their skills can be used for the church and not for the world.
Yeah, and I think that's really good. And I think another piece that you mentioned that I'll kind of touch on a little bit, you mentioned during the time that we had COVID, for me at least, that's when I really understood and started to get an idea of like, oh, the stuff that we're doing, the stuff that we're putting out online is very important. You know, there's people that are not able to go to the building, you know, during COVID. And even now we've got people that are watching overseas in different countries that would never get the chance to come, you know, in our building and experience, you know, the presence of God and all the stuff that we get to experience here in person. So just kind of along with what you said, I think it's very, very important that people realize that what we're doing is not just for, you know, a picture that we're posting on Facebook or a YouTube video that we're trying to get views on. All of that is important, but it's the reason behind it. It's the method and the thought behind it of we're trying to reach people that are lost in an avenue that they might be able to see. And so I really agree with all that you said there.
I think that just to cap what you said, it's purpose.
Yeah.
Like the creatives of the secular world don't really have a purpose other than just to create. And I have friends in that secular creative world where like they'll create something, and it's so, even I've been there where I'll create something for my Instagram and it's not even about God, but I'm just like trying to create something cool because I want people to see, and then you don't get the likes you wanted or you don't get the views you wanted, and it's like so discouraging because that's not a real purpose.
Yeah.
The purpose of likes, even if you have a lot of likes, it's unfulfilling. You hear all of these influencers, and I think that's kind of this new wave of creativity is these influencers who are making money and they're getting views and they're getting likes and everyone knows who they are, but they're still deep down, they have a God-sized hole in their heart.
Yeah, they're missing something.
Exactly. And I think that's purpose. And what I love about creativity in the church is that we have purpose.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm making something, when it takes an hour to shoot and 5 hours to edit, while that's not always fun, because sometimes people think being creative is always fun. It's not. Sometimes it's late nights sitting on your computer and editing the same video over and over and over and over again until you get it right. But there's a purpose for it.
Yeah.
For instance, I've done wedding films, and I've taken a step back from them now because I can't stand to do them. And if you like to do them, God bless you. I don't know how you like to do them, but because there's such it takes so much time, and it's just not what God has called me to, and I don't feel like I'm matching the purpose that He wants me to have. Yeah. We're going to talk about it later, and probably in a different podcast, but I just want to mention it slightly that right after that conversation with Moses and God is calling forth these artisans who are going to build the church. And what I think that we still have to do today is use creativity to build the church, whether it's getting people in seats, whether it's discipling people online, or whether it's just being an outlet for people to come to know Christ. I think what's important is right after that, God then talks about the Sabbath. God immediately mentions rest.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I think as a creative, if we're not mindful of having rest, it's one of the easiest avenues of a person to get burnt out.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to go into is just more so talking to you about live stream. With the podcast that we have coming up, with the Freedom class and the Discover class and the Celebrate Recovery and Wednesday night services and Wednesday night Bible studies at Compassion Metro, it's been our goal for 2025, or it is our goal for 2025, to be better disciplers, to call up a generation, to call up the lost, to see them saved, but then make sure that they're discipled.
Yeah.
Give a little bit of insight. You kind of mentioned it, but just when we're talking about live stream, when people, not even live stream, but when you're uploading podcasts, when you're uploading sermons, how do you see the benefit of that to discipling the next generation, especially who's on social media in a new way that the older generation isn't?
Yeah, I think it's important, I think, at least when I'm, working on the live stream or the podcast, to, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, how can we improve this? How can we make it better? How can the next podcast be better than the one that we just uploaded?
Mm-hmm.
How can we make it more enticing? How can we make the content better so that people will want to tune in? How do you combat that? How do you get more viewers? How do you get people to notice what's going on at the church?
Yeah.
And then for the discipleship part, I think it's also important that although sometimes there's the saying that the older generation kind of looks down on us for social media and for podcasts, for videos, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's used in the right method and the right thought behind it, kind of like I mentioned earlier, with trying to get people saved and come to know Jesus, I think, you just have to realize what the method and thought is behind it. So if we're trying to reach people and disciple people online, that's one of the most popular things in today's day and age for younger people is the social media presence, is the way that they see people online.
Right.
And so if we can tune into that and tap into that, but for the right reasons, why not? Why not do everything we can to save one person through a video?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really what I try to keep in the back of my head is how can we improve? How can we become better at the things that we're doing every time we hit publish so that people can come to know Christ?
Yeah. I think to that point, you were talking about, this is something I've been instilling on the team for maybe a year now, of like, and especially over the past 3 to 4 months, we're just trying to get better. And why would we not do it? If we can get someone saved, if we can disciple somebody, why would we not do it to our best extent? Even if we only have a certain amount of people in this church, and there are churches who are 10 times the size of us, and their YouTube views are 100,000 times more, there might still be someone who sees ours.
Yeah.
One of the things like I said, that I've just been installing in this team lately is that I never want, and this is kind of not our mission statement, not our vision statement, but just kind of like the motto that we've been going through, is that we don't ever want to be led by the church. Not saying that the executive staff leads us and we don't pay attention to their vision and mission, but in innovation. That even when this church is at a level of attendance and financial and just can't do things that a huge megachurch would do. I'm not saying that that's the goal, is to be a megachurch, but just things that bigger churches might do.
Right.
But that creativity and what our online presence would lead the church, and even not even that, but what we put on the screen and our merch room and the merch we come up with, that every single thing we do would be to our just with 1,000% effort.
Yeah.
And I take it so serious because, like, I could get emotional talking about it, because it's like, if we mess up, or if we don't put our best effort out there, and I'm not saying we have to be perfect, but if we don't put our best effort, and a hiccup happens in service, and I'm not saying God can't work through these things, so please hear my intention in my heart, but a hiccup happens through service, or we don't upload a video that could have been seen by somebody, and then they come to know who Christ is through that. What a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I never want someone to come here and be like, yeah, the church was all right and the people were really, really nice, but the service didn't go well and the creative aspects were lackluster, and I wasn't impressed. I'm not saying we're trying to impress people. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But I think if we can give people what he wants to say to them through creativity, and that can be an avenue that we lead them to Christ with, and because we don't put our best foot forward to do so, we miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
Man, like I don't know how you don't take that so seriously. I don't know how you don't see that as just vital to our being in our team, is to learn that everything that we do has to operate at a higher level than the congregation or the church is, because we can't miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
There are going to be things that we can't do that a bigger church can do, but we have to do our very best, because it's so vital that we are, with 100% effort, taking every opportunity that we can and holding on to it, and hopefully someone will come to know Christ through it and then be discipled through it.
Yeah.
I think of Jesus, the way he did parables and presenting them in a certain way, not to compare what we do to Jesus' sayings, because there really isn't a comparison, obviously. But if we can repackage something in a creative way that no one has thought about before or would have given a shot, I think that's a big thing in our generation, our culture. They won't even give the Bible a shot, but they might give a cool video a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
They might wear a hoodie on because it looks really cool, and on the back it's proclaiming Christ, and they don't even know they're walking around sharing the gospel. Like, those are the things that excite me, because I think through creativity, it's the next generation that we can affect, who would have never given the Bible the shot that it deserves because of what they've seen online.
Right. And it's only getting more and more popular. Like, the stuff that's going on outside of the church is getting more and more popular. So why not, tap into that? Why not try to be relevant? Why not try to be, better than we would be if we didn't have creative elements? And kind of like you were saying, someone could come for all the wrong reasons, but if they see a graphic on the screen and they're interested in graphics, or they're a graphic designer or something for work outside of church world, that could be the one thing that piques their interest. That could be the one thing that gets them to say, hey, maybe I do want to serve on that team because they create cool stuff. And then in turn they get saved and start serving. So I think that's very important. It's very big what you just said about kind of what we're trying to do here and the vision behind all the stuff that we're promoting and pushing. So, and I also want to throw in there, congrats to you and your team, like all the stuff that you guys are doing. And then the way that you delegate your tasks, like you can't do all of it by yourself.
For sure, no.
There's so many things going on, so many videos, and then not only that, you're also working a full-time job outside of this. So I just want to, say congrats to you and your team for all the stuff that you guys are doing.
I appreciate it. And you're just as part of that team. When we were going through the Metro project, I remember we were on like a half circle. And when we coined that Metro project phrase, it felt like, oh, this could be something that we hold on to.
Yeah.
And I think what we felt in that room, the moment we premiered it to the church felt. And you were just as much part of that conversation. I'm not going to touch on it. I just want to mention, you said about someone who comes and is interested in graphics but is not interested in God, and using the avenue of creativity as a way to get people to serve in, and then come to know the full expectation of Christ. There's a person on our team who I'm thinking of right now who that exactly describes, and we're going to have her on at a certain point. She's got an awesome testimony. I just want to say that I think that is a good thing to say. That is a powerful statement, that there is someone who can come and go. And I think of young people all across the country like this, who are just, they don't know God, they're not even interested in God, but maybe making a video for a church would be cool.
Yeah.
And then me, someone who is I'm not saying I'm the most spiritually mature person, but if I can get a 15-year-old to come stand next to me and I can preach them the gospel at the same time I'm showing them how to use a camera, I think that using creativity as an avenue to get people plugged in to the church and then to Christ, I think is a big thing I want to touch on in a later podcast.
Yeah,
so.
And it makes it worth it. It makes all the effort, all the hours, all the videos, everything worth it. And just real quick, I'll touch on something that just popped in my head. You had mentioned earlier about, all the mega churches having, hundreds of thousands of views, however many they get. But one thing that I remember that really kind of piqued my interest was like, oh, I really enjoy this. I like doing the live stream. I like coming up and setting up the technology here. Was when we first started the live stream, we were averaging like 0 viewers. Like we had absolutely 0. And I still remember like the first Sunday we had over 5 viewers, like after a couple of weeks that we were doing it. And it just made me so excited. Yeah. And so there's definitely a reward in seeing, okay, people are seeing what we're doing. They're noticing what we're doing. And then you hear these praise reports of, oh, someone came to know Christ through your online services. That just made everything worth it, everything that we're doing. And so I just want to throw that in there. It's something I thought of.
That's awesome. It's so true. Just when you talk about influencers and they even get 100,000 of views on YouTube, and you talk about filling a stadium, and like while it would be awesome to take all of their 100,000 views and fill a stadium and preach the gospel, if there were 5 people standing outside and they didn't hear the gospel, how much of a missed opportunity. Yeah. And if it's us who, even though we only get 5 views or however many views that we get, I think we get more than that now, but even if we only got 5 views, if that's the only time those 5 people can hear the gospel because they didn't see the 100,000 people stream, or you know what I'm saying, then it was all worth it. Yeah. So I think that's powerful in itself. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope you not only enjoyed this, but we hope that you heard our hearts and our intentionality behind what we're doing, what we're going to continue to do. Yeah. Why so many of us take, when we have full-time jobs, still come up here and do things extra is not because we're trying to make a name for ourselves or get views. I guess it is views because we want people to see it, because we want people to come to the knowing of Christ. But that's the only reason, not because we're trying to do anything else. So hear our intentionality behind it, hear our heart, and understand our love for Christ and our love for people to come to the knowing of Christ. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me, Tal.
Yeah, thank you.
See you next week. Kenny Loves Podcast coming out next week. Make sure that you watch. It's going to be awesome. That is a strong, strong man of God. He has got a message to tell. We've already been talking about some of the things that he's going to talk about. We've been meeting at lunch, and I think he's got a word for. I think he's got a word for the next generation. And so
don't miss that one. That'll be good.
Be a part. So we'll see you soon.